Tsikhanouskaya and Elie Wiesel founded Forum 2000 for a purpose.
We have to use the past to not becoming our children's future.
Thank you very much. I am honored to be here, and I want to thank President Havel for convening another extraordinary gathering of Forum 2000.
So those people, they are peace, not kingdom, more seriously. And we should develop new ideas. And then important is implementation.
Dámy a pánové, vážení přítomní, já vás co nejsrdečněji vítám na konferenci Forum 2000.
The world is upside down. How should we put it back together? Are we able to act responsibly? Can we work together, play by the rules, and restore solidarity? Let's use this crisis as an opportunity. A new world emerging? Watch the online Forum 2000 conference, October 12th to 14th.
Welcome everybody to this session of the 24th Forum 2000 session. Sadly, we're not all together in Prague physically, but maybe less sadly and hopefully this also means that many more people from around the world can participate. As the initiator and founder of Forum 2000, of the concept, President Havel said he wanted a space for people to come together in calm discussion, and oh, how much we need this, and how good it is for this to be translated online. So welcome and thank you. So I'm very honored to be chairing this session today on Stand with Belarus, and I'd like to first very briefly introduce, they hardly need introduction, our two guests. First, recognized by many people and by some governments as the president-elect of Belarus, Sviatlana Tsikhanouskaya, and in conversation with the foreign minister of Czechia, Tomáš Petříček. So the topic, again, hardly needs introducing. There was an election, another clearly rigged election in Belarus. There was an extraordinary set of protests, an outpouring of protests, and it has turned for the whole of the world to look at into a historic moment of the birth of a democratic nation. And again, to think of Havel, I think all of us seeing on August the 13th, the demonstrations of women and children in the streets with flowers, confronting the security forces. This was a moment which Havel would have recognized as an expression of the power of the powerless. So the real topic for our question, for our session today is the central question, which is what needs to be done inside Belarus, outside Belarus, by governments, by people. What needs to be done for Belarus to be able to determine its own future? So without any hesitation, let me start the question to Sviatlana. What does Belarus want?
Hello, everything. Thank you for having me today. We are really grateful to you that we are on agenda today, because what's going on in our country now is something horrible, at least for Belarusian people. Because what does Belarus want? We want respect from our authorities. We want our rights to be respect it as well. We understood that we are nobody for our authorities. They don't pay attention to us, they don't listen to us, they don't want to talk to us. And this year, our Belarusian people have woken up after 26 years dream, and now we want to fight for our rights, peacefully fight for our rights. So can I go on?
Of course.
Yes. So in our country now is political crisis, the political crisis. After the elections, which were justified, Mr. Lukashenko doesn't have any trust in the eyes of Belarusian people. And thanks to all the countries who supported us in this fight and didn't accept the legitimacy of Mr. Lukashenko as well, this showed that you are standing for human rights, for the right of Belarusian people to choose our future by ourselves, for our right to build new democratic country for our children. So it's about what's going on in country, but what does Belarus want? We want new, fair and transparent elections, because the last elections, the same as the previous, were falsified. But this time we don't want to deal with this anymore, and we want new elections. But before these elections, we demand dialogue with authorities, just to settle down all the questions, how to have these transparent elections, how to make these elections transparent, to invite international observers, to invite local observers. But we are calling for negotiations with Belarusian authorities, but we don't have any response. Just to have the negotiations, we start to press on our authorities. And this pressure has to be as inside country, so outside country. So I see the future. Yeah.
No, that's great. Okay, so you want elections. You want to find a way to the freedom to choose the future for the people of Belarus.
Yes,
I'll come back on that, and I'll come back on that in a moment. But let me first immediately bring in Minister Petříček and ask him, what should the community of nations outside do, and in particular, obviously, the EU and more generally the West?
Good afternoon from Prague. First of all, I would like to use the opportunity and to express my greatest appreciation to Sviatlana for all she has been doing and she is about to do for Belarus right now. On the question, I have three brief remarks, comments. First, we need to remain continual when it comes to our support to Belarusian civil society and to people like Sviatlana in their efforts to change Belarus into a democratic country. They need to know that we stand behind them, that they have our moral and practical assistance. Second, we need to keep the issue high on the agenda of the European Union. We have introduced sanctions against the regime representatives who participated in the violent crackdown on the demonstrations and who were involved in falsification of the elections. Now we agreed recently, actually yesterday, that we are going to extend the list of people who are on the list and include President Lukashenko himself. And the third point is that we need to bring the topic of human rights abuses in Belarus to international fora. For example, Human Rights Council, where we have recently supported the discussion on the situation in Belarus, and we have adopted a resolution on the human rights situation in the country. So we need to keep it also high on the agenda of institutions and organizations like UN, Human Rights Council, OEC, and others.
Very good. Thank you for that introduction. Now let me see if I can get a little bit of a discussion going. So the first thing to Sviatlana is my question, my response to your answer to what does Belarus want is the following. There's a sense in which I think brilliantly you and the opposition movements have made your demands extremely minimalist. In a sense, you're saying very little. You're saying we want new elections and we want choice. Now, I think that this has brought great unity, but isn't there a danger in being so minimalist that we are here in this moment of definition of a people? As you said, it's the birth of a people that has discovered, that has awoken. Isn't there a danger in being so minimalist, in not using the moment to define more positively what the vision for Belarus is? If there's no positive vision beyond give us another choice, then can you sustain the opposition that you need in order to get to that point?
I think this minimalistic demands that we offer, that we ask for just new elections, means that nobody at the moment is striving for power. We only thinking about future Belarus without violence, without regime, without dictatorship. And this message is understandable for everyone, because during election campaign, there were a couple of people who wanted to go for presidency, but Mr. Lukashenko kicked all of them out of this election campaign, and people couldn't vote for a person they wanted to. Now we won't give people right opportunity to vote for a person they want. That's why. And after these elections will be declared, every person who would like to run for presidency could show the program, and people will be able to choose what future they will follow, after which candidate they will follow. So, but of course, I can't just offer only new elections, because we are thinking about future of Belarus as well. We understand that now we are falling into economic hole, and we have to offer people that after new elections we will have a safe pillow to rise our economic. That's why we are talking about economic financial help from other countries as well. So this message about new elections is clear, understandable for everyone, and people know what they are fighting for now.
Thank you. The Minister Petříček, the point that Sviatlana raises about international economic help. We know where that international economic help come from for the current regime in Belarus, right? And in a sense, it seems to me that it's come from Russia, largely in the form of low prices for hydrocarbons. What your answer about what the EU should give to stand behind Belarus civil society, to be there morally and practically. This is absolutely right. But we also need to recognize that Belarus is from the outsider's perspective, from the nations outside, is one of those countries in a very unique positions. Its unique position in the sense that it has practically, geographically, historically, extremely close links to Russia. That relations between Russia and the EU are not as not the best they might be. To what extent does that constrain what the EU can think of doing?
I would like to stress that here I see a great role for the European Union in a long-term perspective. And actually, we have already done the first steps on proposing a comprehensive economic plan for the Belarus. We presented a discussion paper together with Poland, Estonia, Latvia, and later on our prime ministers from the Central Europe also put in place a proposal for this plan that is based on the condition that democratization and progress in Belarus take place sooner or later. And this plan has to cover a wide range of areas, from strengthening economic relations. We can certainly offer opportunities for Belarus to create a more prosperous and sustainable economy that benefit its citizens. But we also can focus on supporting civil society, independent media, NGOs in different areas. We can also look into improving the opportunities for Belarusian students to study in the EU. This is something we are working on in the European Union at the moment, because I think this is clearly a positive message to people in Belarus that EU is ready to help when the situation will arrive to change they all want, actually. And one short comment on this relationship between Belarus and Russia. I think that we have been clear that this is not about asking for some geopolitical change. We are not asking for any change in the attitude towards Russia. We fully understand that Belarus, after new elections, will be free to cooperate with whomever they want. This is internal issue of Belarus, and we know that traditionally Belarusian people are very, very close to Russian people, actually, and it is also seen that many speak Russian. There is no question about changing this, so that we don't see European flags in Minsk and other cities. I think we respect that, and that's our position, that we are only open to provide better cooperation based on mutual respect after new democratic elections.
Am I still there? I can. My screen has changed. Okay, I will. Sorry. I was going. So can I ask? Can I take up that question of Russia and relate it to the question that I started with, Sviatlana, which is this question of how does Belarus from the inside see itself in the world? I think that you have. In all your statements and pronouncements, you have been very open and welcoming to your both the EU to the west and Russia to the east. Do you is that and Minister Petříček emphasizes the degree to which the European Union is very comfortable with that positioning, and at the same time, of course, as we look, I think that there are two things which strike the outside observer like me. Firstly, is that Belarus has taken such a very distinct path from post-Sovietism, from its neighbors. And so in many ways, one looks at at great successes in Belarus, economically and socially, compared, for example, I would say, to, let's say, Ukraine or Georgia. So there are many things which Belarus over the last 26 years has got right, and it's in this very unique geopolitical position. Can you elaborate a little bit about how you think Belarus in this moment will define itself, both in terms of its recent history of relative success in some dimensions, and in terms of how it is going to be in relation to the two powerful blocs on either side of it? What do you want in that regard?
Oh, so first of all, I have to say that we are an independent country and we want to stay in this state in the future. We are a sovereign country and sovereignty is not under discussion, is not under question, it's all we want to keep. We understand our position, it's like between east or west, but it's only politician who who divide us like this. We are between east or west, and I think that you, at the moment, okay, let's start from the beginning. We are neighbors of Russia, and we will be their neighbors. For the future as well, the same as we are neighbors to Lithuania, Poland, and the Ukraine. And we want to be friends with everybody. And at this very moment, we don't pay too much attention to Russia as a neighbor. Why don't we talk about influence of Ukraine, about influence of Poland? But you have to understand that what's going on in our country, it's not about geopolitics at all. It's all about people against one person. And if we start to talk that Russia influences much to our country now, and something like this, these messages distract attention from what's going on inside our country. It's we always gave clear message that we are open for dialogue to any country around us and in Europe or everywhere. But respect our sovereignty, don't interfere, and we will manage to solve our problem by ourselves. It's a pity that some countries didn't support strive of people for building of their own future by ourselves, and they started to help regime, started to help financially. It means that help killing people, and started to support with propaganda and with police, with maybe with police, so they promised. But we have to distinguish, Russia is not only Kremlin, it's Russian people. And we always were friendly with Russian people, and Russian people mostly support Belarusian people in this fight. So we, again, just having case to say that, please don't interfere in our internal affairs. Respect our sovereignty, and we will solve this problem quietly without, without any other's help. Now we are having seen that this regime is getting outside help. This dictatorship getting outside help. We understand that we can't solve this problem by ourselves, by the strength of Belarusian people. So we had to ask for mediation in starting these negotiations with authorities. And for this mediation, all the countries are welcomed, all the countries. And of course, I know what we are talking about. Russia is highly welcomed into this mediation process. So, as for Sovietism, you mentioned, we had history, and we don't have right to forget about this history, but we have to move on. And which way we will move on, it's only up to Belarusian people. One person can't solve the way for the whole country. But so as our people aren't listened to, they just nobody for our authorities. So that's why, including this reason, we are fighting at the moment.
Minister Petříček, can I ask you to come in? We hope, of course, that everything that Belarusians are doing to oppose the regime at the moment, and everything that the EU and the West is doing to help, we hope, of course, that this leads to a rapid stand down by the current authorities and an accession to the demands that are being made. We also have to consider the possibility that might take a very long time. And at that point, it seems to me, Belarus and its opposition and its civil society are in a way in a position that is somewhat familiar to Czechia and its history of dissidence. What in that there is a regime which doesn't want to go, which is resisted by civil society. What are the lessons from that period of Czechia's history if we enter a world in which the end game for the current regime is very long?
First of all, I hope that this process will not take as long as it took in Czechoslovakia or in Poland, because it wasn't that it was instantaneous in 1989. Let illustrate that, for example, Charter 77, which was established after the Helsinki Protocol was signed, which opened the space for civil society in communist countries. It took really 12 years. It took almost 10 years, a decade, since Solidarność in Poland emerged and asked for more freedom in Poland. So here we should be also prepared for a possibility that Lukashenko will stay for some time, and we need to continue in our support to people like Sviatlana in their struggle. We need to stay, we need to be steadfast in supporting civil society in Belarus, because they need our moral support and practical assistance in their effort.
Yes, very, very important. Thank you. Let me take. We have another 3 minutes, unfortunately, on this fascinating discussion. Let me take some questions from the audience. The first one, I'm afraid I can't read the name who it's from, but is this one. It's anonymous, but it's a very good question. What is the difference between today and the protests in 2010? So why will today's protests lead to change? And what are the big differences between now and 2010? Sviatlana.
I think that the main difference is currency. How just at 2010 it was a very strong protest, but it was violently pressed, and it was over. Maybe it was because the absence of internet or weather, or I don't know why it was, but people had the same intention to change this power, but they couldn't. There were a lot of politician prisoners, as well after 29. But now a lot of, 10 more years left, and people's people's patience, it is over at the moment. Internet plays a huge role in these demonstrations, in this protest, and people's dignity developed. And yes, and new generation grew up, who saw how people. Please.
I've heard one thing. I want to see. I've heard one theory, which is that Lukashenko had a very bad response to COVID, and his denial of the problem of COVID led the citizens and the people to go and find information for themselves and to support themselves. And in a sense, it was that deep error of statesmanship which made the people realize that they needed to take things into their own hands. Do you think there's any validity to that view?
For sure, COVID played a huge role as well, because at that very moment we understood that our government doesn't take care about us at all, and we people by ourselves can take care of us, of our doctors, of people who got ill. So, of course, COVID played a huge role. Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel we're wrapping up this session. Sviatlana, you've emphasized the need for the respect of sovereignty. Minister Petříček, you've emphasized the absolute need for us to stand behind Belarus and its people morally and practically. Thank you both very much for this fascinating discussion.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.